Have you ever stayed silent in English, not because you didn't know the words, but because you were afraid of making a mistake? Today, we're going to show you why mistakes are actually the fastest path to fluency. Hey everyone, welcome back to Steps to Fluency, your English podcast for real conversations, real stories, and real progress. I'm Lucy.
And I'm Jack. And Lucy, before we start, you told me before we hit record that you have a confession today.
I do. A little nervous, and it is a little embarrassing, but I think it's important, and I think a lot of our listeners are going to feel the same way when they hear it.
Now I'm very curious, and I'm sure everyone listening is too. Lucy has a confession, and it's about a mistake she made in English in front of a lot of people. Stay with us.
Okay, but first, Jack, how are you today? How was your week?
Good, good. A little cold this week, which I did not expect. I went outside without a jacket and immediately regretted it.
Classic mistake.
Classic. Speaking of mistakes, how was your week, Lucy?
Good, busy, and very focused on today's topic because, well, this happened to me this week, actually. Something reminded me of a story I've been wanting to tell for a while, and I think it's the right episode to finally say it out loud.
Okay, and before we get into it, if you're new here, welcome to Steps to Fluency. Every week, Lucy and I talk about real English, real stories, and honest lessons about learning.
And if you've been with us since the beginning, thank you, genuinely. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who is learning English right now. It really helps the podcast grow. All right, Jack, it's time for my confession.
I've been waiting for this since Tuesday.
Okay, so a few years ago, I was at an international conference, a big one, many people from many countries all speaking English, and I was presenting on stage with a microphone in front of maybe 300 people. I had prepared everything, my slides, my notes, my timing. I practiced at home. I was ready. And then, about 10 minutes into the presentation, I said something. I wanted to say, this approach is very embarrassing for companies that still use old systems. What I actually said was, this approach is very embarrassed. 300 people, complete silence for 1 second. It felt like the whole room stopped breathing. And then someone in the front row very kindly said, just quietly, embarrassing. And I stopped. I looked at my notes. I looked back at the room and I said out loud into the microphone, "You're right, thank you. Embarrassing. This approach is very embarrassing." And then I kept going.
Wait, you just continued?
I just continued. And here's the thing. After the presentation, 3 different people came up to me and all 3 said something similar. One said, "Your English is so natural. I loved how you handled that moment." Another said, "I make that mistake too. It was nice to see someone just keep going." And the third one, my favorite, said, "That mistake made you more human. I paid more attention after that." 300 people, 1 grammar mistake, and it made her more human. That's what today's episode is really about.
That's remarkable, because most people would have frozen, or apologized for 5 minutes, or completely lost their confidence.
I almost did. For that 1 second, I felt everything. The heat in my face, the silence, the wish that the floor would open and take me. But then something kicked in, something I had learned the hard way years before that day. The mistake already happened. Nothing I do in the next 5 seconds will unhappen it. The only question is, what do I do next? And I chose to keep going. Not because I wasn't embarrassed, I was very embarrassed, but because the presentation was more important than the mistake. And if you've had a moment like this in English, in a class, at work, anywhere, don't worry. That moment does not define your English. What you do after it does. Every mistake is proof that you are trying, and trying is how fluency is built. Let me ask you something. When you make a mistake in English, do you keep talking or do you immediately stop?
That's actually the perfect question, because it reminds me of a student I want to tell everyone about today. His name, for this episode, is Daniel. And Daniel had the opposite reaction to mistakes. He didn't keep going. He stopped. Every time. Daniel is a smart person, well-read, great vocabulary in his own language, curious about everything. When he first came to us, his written English was already strong. He could read articles, follow podcasts, understand films. But speaking, he had almost never done it. Outside of school exercises, almost zero. And the reason was very specific. He told me in our first session, "Jack, I don't speak because I don't want to make mistakes. When I make a mistake, I feel stupid, and I don't want to feel stupid."
How many learners feel exactly that?
Almost all of them, in my experience. Almost all of them. And the thing about Daniel is that this fear was very rational. It made complete sense. He was an intelligent person. In his own language, he never sounded unsure. He was articulate, clear, confident. In English, he felt like a child, and he hated that feeling. So his solution was don't speak until you're ready. Daniel's paradox was that he didn't speak English because he was afraid of making mistakes. And because he didn't speak, he never improved enough to feel confident. The fear created exactly the problem he was trying to avoid. He didn't speak because he was afraid of mistakes, but because he didn't speak, he never got better. The fear was creating the very problem he was trying to avoid.
That's the trap, isn't it? You wait until you're ready, but you only get ready by doing, so you never start.
Exactly. It's like waiting to learn to swim until you feel comfortable in water. The only way to get comfortable in water is to get in. So I asked Daniel something that surprised him. I said, "Daniel, what if mistakes are not the problem? What if avoiding mistakes is the problem?" He looked at me like I had said something in a language he didn't understand. And if that idea sounds strange to you right now, that's okay. It sounds strange to almost everyone at first. Let's slow down and look at why it's actually true.
Okay, let me tell you something about how the brain works when it learns a language, and I'm going to use a very simple picture. Imagine your brain is a city, and every word, every phrase, every grammar rule is a road in that city. When you learn something new, you build a new road. But at first, that road is very small, very thin, easy to mess. Now, every time you use that road, every time you say that word or use that grammar, the road gets a little bigger, a little stronger, a little easier to find. And every time you make a mistake, your brain notices. It says, "Wait, that road was wrong. Let me find the right one." And that moment of correction, that builds the road faster than almost anything else.
So the mistake is actually doing the work.
The mistake is doing the work. Researchers call this error-driven learning. Your brain learns more from being wrong and then corrected than from just seeing the right answer from the beginning. Think about it this way. If I tell you that the past tense of go is went, you might remember it. But if you say goed in a conversation and someone gently says went, you will probably never forget it. The mistake made the lesson stick. Your brain learns more from being wrong than from being told the right answer. That's not motivation, that's how learning actually works.
And there's another side to this too, the emotional side. When you avoid mistakes, you play it safe. You use only the words you're sure about, the structures you've practiced 100 times. You don't try new things. You don't reach further than what's comfortable. And that's fine for a while, but at some point your English stops growing, because growth only happens at the edge of what you can do. And to be at that edge, you have to risk being wrong.
We call it the comfort zone. And in language learning, the comfort zone is a very comfortable place to stay. But nothing new grows there. And this doesn't mean you have to be reckless. It doesn't mean you should speak without thinking. It means you give yourself permission to be imperfect, because imperfect English, spoken out loud, is 100 times more useful than perfect English that stays in your head. Every mistake is proof that you are trying, and trying is how fluency is built. Okay, so back to Daniel. After Jack explained the idea that mistakes are useful, not shameful, Daniel said something honest. He said, "I understand that idea in theory, but emotionally, I still hate it. I still feel bad when I make a mistake." And that's a really important thing to say, because understanding something and feeling it are different. You can know that making mistakes is okay and still feel awful when it happens. That's not weakness, that's just being human.
So what did you do with that?
I gave him one small experiment. I said, Daniel, for the next 2 weeks, I want you to try something. Every time you speak English and you make a mistake, any mistake, big or small, I want you to write it down. Just the mistake, one line, and then next to it, write the correct version. Just that. Don't judge it, don't feel bad about it, just collect it, like a scientist collecting data. The mistake notebook. Daniel starts writing down his mistakes like a scientist, not as evidence of failure, as data. This shift in perspective is small, but it changes everything.
A scientist. I love that framing.
Because scientists don't feel ashamed when an experiment gives unexpected results. They write it down, they look at it, they ask, what does this tell me? And I wanted Daniel to start looking at his mistakes the same way. After 2 weeks, he came back and he showed me his notebook. There were 43 mistakes.
43.
43 mistakes in 2 weeks. And here's what was interesting. When I asked him how he felt looking at that list, he thought for a moment and said, honestly, a little proud, because I know I spoke enough to make 43 mistakes. Daniel's turning point. 43 mistakes, and he feels proud because every mistake meant he had spoken, and speaking was exactly what he had been afraid of before. See, 43 mistakes in 2 weeks, and he felt proud because every mistake meant he had spoken, and speaking was exactly what he had been afraid of before.
That's a complete change of perspective, from mistakes as evidence of failure to mistakes as evidence of effort.
Exactly. And once that shift happened, something else changed too. He started taking more risks in conversation. He tried new vocabulary instead of sticking to safe words. He asked questions when he wasn't sure instead of staying quiet. And his English, in about 6 weeks, grew faster than it had in the previous year. Not because he suddenly had better grammar, because he stopped letting fear make his decisions for him. And if you are hard on yourself when you make mistakes, please hear this. The fact that you notice a mistake means your English is already good enough to recognize it. That's not failure, that's progress. Not all mistakes are the same. Some teach you immediately, some need time, and some you just let them go. Here's how to tell the difference.
Okay, let's talk about something practical, because not all mistakes are the same. And knowing the difference can save you a lot of unnecessary stress. There are 4 types of mistakes in language learning, and each one needs a different response. Type 1, the slip. This is when you know the right answer, but you said something different by accident, like saying he go instead of he goes, when you know the rule perfectly. What to do? Notice it, correct yourself if it feels natural, and move on. Don't stop, don't apologize. It was a slip, not a gap. Type 2, the gap. This is when you made a mistake because you genuinely don't know the rule yet. You didn't know how to form the past tense. You didn't know which preposition to use. What to do? Write it down, like Daniel did. Look it up later, use it correctly the next time. This is the most useful type of mistake. This is where real learning happens. Type 3, the experiment. This is when you tried something new, a new word, a new structure, and it didn't quite work. Maybe the word was almost right, but not exactly right. Maybe the grammar was a little off. What to do? Celebrate a little, quietly. You were trying something new. That takes courage. The next experiment will be closer. Type 4, the misunderstanding. This is when the other person didn't understand you or you didn't understand them. Not because your grammar was wrong, but because of vocabulary, speed, accent, or context. What to do? Ask. Say, sorry, could you repeat that? Or, let me try to say that differently. Communication is a two-way road. Both sides share the responsibility.
And here's the thing that connects all 4 types. None of them are reasons to stop. None of them mean your English is bad. All of them are part of the process. So always remember, 4 types of mistakes: slip, gap, experiment, misunderstanding. None of them are reasons to stop. All of them are part of the process. Okay, word tour time. Great words from today. Let's look at them together.
These are words that came up in Daniel's story and in Lucy's confession. Embarrassed, embarrassing, B1. Embarrassed, how you feel, ashamed, uncomfortable. Embarrassing describes the situation that caused that feeling. Example, I felt embarrassed when I made the mistake. The situation was embarrassing. But I kept going. Slip, B1. A small mistake you make by accident, not because you don't know the rule, but because your brain moved faster than your mouth. Example, that was just a slip. I know the grammar. I was speaking too fast. Gap, B2. Something missing in your knowledge, a rule or word you haven't learned yet. Example, I made a grammar mistake because of a gap in my knowledge. Now I know the rule. Perspective, B2. The way you see or think about something, your point of view. Example, Daniel changed his perspective on mistakes. He stopped seeing them as failures and started seeing them as data. Courage, A2. The ability to do something even when it feels scary or uncomfortable. Example, it takes courage to speak a new language. Every time you try, you are being brave. Process, A2. A series of actions or steps that lead to a result. Something that takes time and happens gradually. Example, learning English is a process. It doesn't happen all at once, and mistakes are part of that process. Choose one of these words. Make one sentence. Say it out loud. That's your practice for today, and it's more than enough. And if some of these words were new for you, that's completely okay. That's why you're here. You can come back and listen to this part again. Repetition is not a sign of weakness. It's how the brain builds roads. All right, now Lucy is going to tell us the 5 practical tips to help you to improve your speaking. Each one is something Daniel or Lucy actually did, not theory. Real changes that made a real difference.
Okay, 5 tips for changing how you feel about mistakes in English. These all come from real experience. Daniel's, mine, and learners we've worked with over the years. Tip 1. Keep a mistake notebook. Just like Daniel did. When you make a mistake, write it down. 1 line, the wrong version. Next to it, the correct version. No judgment, no story around it, just the data. After 2 or 3 weeks, look at the whole list. You will probably notice 2 things. Some mistakes repeat. Those are your gaps, and they deserve attention. And many mistakes you've already stopped making. That's proof that you're learning. It's okay if the list is long. A long list means you've been speaking, and speaking is exactly the goal. Tip 2. Correct yourself out loud. When you notice a mistake, in the same conversation, in the same sentence, correct it. Out loud. Naturally. Like I did at the conference. Embarrassing. This approach is very embarrassing. This does 2 things. It shows the other person you know your English and are paying attention, and it trains your brain to choose the right road next time. Tip 3. Separate the mistake from the moment. This one is psychological. When you make a mistake in the middle of a conversation, your brain wants to replay it, to analyze it, to feel bad about it, right then. And all of that happens while the other person is still talking. The practice is, notice the mistake, let it go for now, and come back to it later, after the conversation, in your notebook. The conversation is happening now, the mistake can wait. Tip 4. Say it wrong first, then right. If you're not sure how to say something, try. Say your best version. If it's wrong, great, now you know. If someone corrects you, even better. You just got a free lesson. The worst that can happen is you learn something. That's a good worst. Tip 5. Celebrate effort, not perfection. At the end of a conversation in English, at work, with a friend, anywhere, ask yourself one question. Did I try? Not, was I perfect? Not, did I make mistakes? Just, did I try? If the answer is yes, that conversation was a success. every time.
Quick recap, so you can take this with you. Lucy made a grammar mistake in front of 300 people. She corrected herself and kept going. 3 people told her it made her more human. Daniel avoided speaking English for years because he was afraid of mistakes. When he started treating mistakes as data instead of failure, his English grew faster in 6 weeks than it had in a year.
There are 4 types of mistakes: the slip, the gap, the experiment, and the misunderstanding. None of them are reasons to stop.
5 tips. Keep a mistake notebook. Correct yourself out loud. Separate the mistake from the moment. Say it wrong first. And celebrate effort, not perfection.
And the most important thing we said today: every mistake is proof that you are trying, and trying is how fluency is built. One question for you, and this one is personal. We really want to hear your answer. What is one mistake you have made in English that you still think about? Write it in the comments, the mistake, and if you know the correct version, write that too. You might be surprised how many people made the exact same mistake, and how good it feels to finally just say it out loud.
And if today's episode helped you see mistakes a little differently, if it made you feel even a little less afraid, please hit like, subscribe, and share it with one person who needs to hear this.
You just practiced your English for almost 20 minutes. You learned new vocabulary. You heard 2 real stories about real people who made mistakes and kept going. You are not behind. You are not too slow. You are not making too many mistakes. You are learning. And learning looks exactly like this.
Oh, one more thing. Next week, we're going to talk about something that connects directly to everything we discussed today.
Because here's a question we get a lot from listeners. I'm improving my English, I can feel it, but when someone speaks fast or uses slang or has a strong accent, I understand almost nothing, and then I feel like I'm back at 0.
That feeling of going backwards, like all your progress disappears the moment the conversation gets real.
Next week, we talk about why that happens and what to do about it. It's called the fluency gap, the space between what you can produce and what you can understand, and it's much more normal than you think.
This was Steps to Fluency with Lucy and Jack. Subscribe so you don't miss it. It's one of those episodes that makes everything else click.
See you next week, and until then, make some mistakes. The good kind. Fluent speakers are not people who never make mistakes. They are people who kept speaking after them.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care. See you in the next video.